Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the U World Order Showcase Podcast. Today we have with us Taylor Caruthers. Taylor is the resilient mother of 5 who defied the odds, embracing motherhood at 15 with 14 years in nursing. She thrives in reproductive health. As an entrepreneur, she coaches with healing, authenticity, and the pillars of anti-racism, gender inclusivity, and trauma awareness. Taylor guides marginalized BIPOC folks to break systemic burnout cycles, empowering them to lead life and business with newfound confidence. Welcome to the show, Taylor. I'm really excited to hear your story. It's quite an
Thank you.
accomplishment to start having kids when you're so young and then really accomplish so much.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely not a journey I would recommend, but at the same time, it has definitely set the tone for um, who I am and how I've grown up and continued to grow to this day.
That's pretty amazing. I too have 5 kids, but instead of starting really early, I started really late. Actually, I started at a normal time and then I had most of them after I was like 38. So, so
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, having 5 kids is always, it's an adventure in itself. So, how did you get started into nursing? What made you go towards nursing? And that's kind of like a, go ahead.
I have always been in a like helping capacity.
Mhm.
My grandmother is actually a nurse and has been my whole life, and she owns a home care agency. So when I tell people that I've really been in home care since I was 8 years old, I'm not exaggerating. I originally went to college for broadcast journalism, and that started to, I started to see that it was basically going to be a really long time, and the odds of being successful in that field, because I didn't want to be like on the local news. I wanted to be like on Nightline and like some Dateline, big NBC, like big stuff. I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, this is probably not really like a family oriented career. When I started to learn more about the hours and like trying to get the stories, I'm like, this is not going to work for me. So I started having the conversation about, career paths, and nursing just felt really aligned and really good, and that I could help people make a difference and also make somewhat of a decent living and be a mom. So I definitely, will get into how different healthcare really is. Um, but it definitely was one of those things that I just felt called to, and, kind of fought my way into nursing school, which was really competitive. And I've been there ever since.
That's an amazing story. And nurses are really the unsung heroes of so much of the medical industry. I've had recent experience with hospitals, and doctors are hard to find. You watch these TV shows where the doctors are all like milling around and doing stuff. Well, that hasn't been my experience in the last few times anyway that I can remember being in the hospital, and it's just the nurses. And the nurses are making most of the decisions. Like it's like, and you don't want to make them mad.
Yes, always be nice to your nurses for sure, because your nurses are usually the ones that are going to save your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
That was my point. It's like there aren't
yeah,
any doctors really around.
yeah,
So,
for sure.
you're helping these people and it's a super stressful environment. I know nurses and doctors too are like really high on the suicide rate scale. You just have to work such long hours and really you're dealing with people who are sick and not really in the best frame of mind. They're not happy people because if they were happy, they wouldn't be in the hospital
True.
for the most part. Um, and then their loved ones who are worried and often hard to deal with too. So it's not any surprise that they have such a stressful and high levels of burnout, really.
Yeah, it definitely, I don't have a lot of, my husband has always called me a paperwork nurse, which I laugh at because I'm like, I can still see patients. But I definitely, my career has been mostly between home care and reproductive health care.
Mhm.
And yeah, even in those settings of healthcare, you are dealing with people at their worst, what is, sometimes the worst day of their life. And it's not always pretty. And when you throw in any other dynamics of things are not happening exactly like they think it should because that's what they saw on TV, and they realize that it's drastically different. And that, nurses, doctors, the social workers, like everyone else is there usually because they want to be, because it's not like you're going to be a millionaire from being a nurse. I mean, I'm sure at some point you can, but people are there usually because their hearts are in it, and we're human. We're doing the best job that we can do for you, but it's kind of what we train for too, of, when people are hurt or not feeling well, they are not their best selves. And if you work with elderly population, just using that as an example, elderly folks with dementia, sundowning is a thing. That person, that sweet person you were just talking to at 4, just knowing how to anticipate the changes in the human condition really, and adapt to that, and not let someone else's bad day become your bad day. So when you move on to the next patient, you have to act like that didn't just happen, and continue to keep moving forward with that perspective, because everyone deserves that level of care.
Yeah, and it's pretty amazing that nurses are for the most part really good at that. I I was dealing with a hospice nurse and I'm just so impressed at their ability to be cheerful even at a really difficult time for the family and not stealing their hope, even though it was very misplaced in our situation. But it was just like she just did the things, no big deal.
Yeah.
It, and there's just yeah, they're just so amazing, but they they really do need the tools and the support of people like you in your coaching where they can find the tools to help themselves have good healthy boundaries and um and just realize that they can put themselves first and by doing that help everybody around them fix their relationships and
It's the
so
hardest thing that I learned the hard way. You feel like, or you hear, especially as women, but all genders deal with some form of it, but you feel like putting yourself first is selfish, or you don't have the right to, I'll do it later, I'll take care of me after I finish taking care of everybody else. but that results in you pouring from an empty cup. And
Mhm.
there's only so much you can pour from that perpetual empty cup. And, versus the flip side, when you do prioritize yourself and your own self-care, you are going to be of better service, greater service to others. And of course, like that's not a knock at, we do the best we can until we can't, we just that's kind of how I even have one of my first mentors who told me, like, I mean, I've been a nurse for almost 15 years now. Right in the beginning of my career, within like the first year or two, she was like, yeah, nurses don't typically retire, they just die. And I was like, that yeah. And I mean, that's kind of what I see. Some nurses get in a certain role or place that they love and they enjoy. They can do it in their sleep and they don't ever, you don't, see nurses like actually retire. Retirement for a nurse is like they work 40 hours a week now. They don't really go and, say like, okay, I'm done. And it's just like that drive to, there's always going to be something to fix and somebody to help. And just making sure that you are as important in that equation as everyone else that you want to help.
It's kind of like moms. Once you become a mom, you're a mom until you die. There's like no retiring. There's no, you're just always the mom. Like you may do other things and you may be known for other things, but you're always mom or nana as you
100%.
get older.
One day, yes.
Yeah. So how does your coaching look?
My coaching has definitely grown as I have grown. So right now I offer a 12-week program that goes through the pillars of like literally as I learn and grow, it is going to help you explore. I really like to get into the subconscious and the things that may not be readily apparent that are actually keeping us stuck in different ways, shapes, and forms. So exploring what's there, understanding, and then learning how to embody and empower that so that you can take your power back. And whether that means creating a business that you love or a life that you love, can't really manifest on a shaky foundation. You can, I don't recommend it. I've done it before, got the t-shirt. It's not cool. So it's really all about doing that subconscious work and bringing the subconscious conscious and making the decisions about, there are definitely patterns that might still be serving you and you might want to keep them, and that's okay. But if there's some that you're like, you know what, I don't even understand why I always do this or why this always happens to me, and looking at things from a different perspective of life happening for you and not to you. So it's a lot of radical responsibility, acceptance, and understanding the fact that you are the master creator of your reality. So whatever is happening in your life right now, it is because you either consciously or subconsciously created it that way, and that can be tough to look at. But as somebody who is actively doing that for myself, that's kind of where the modalities come in of making parts of that a little less painless, I'll say. There's always tears, but making things, as easy as possible and also with the support and guidance of someone that is still, on that journey. I don't think I'll ever step off to say like, oh, I'm completely healed and everything is all good. But I continually do my own work. So I get to continue to hold people at deeper levels the more that I go deeper into my own work. So it's pretty amazing so far. So I will be doing another course in April, actually. So yeah, I'm super excited for new folks who are ready to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah, that sounds very exciting. So you're doing it in group settings or one-on-one? It
I
sounds
do
more like,
both. It really is up to the person based on the modalities that I use. They can choose. There are some portions that are group. But we, of course, don't go that deep. But I'm also about fostering community and giving people the tools so that when they're done with the program, they don't just revert back to whatever they wanted to change so that, hopefully they build more bonds and relationships with people in their cohort and continue to, I'm going to be here, of course, but continue to uplift and support each other and really, branch out into a whole other area that may not have been possible without those deeper connections.
I really like communities for that very reason. You meet some people that stay with you forever. They just
Hmm.
you become friends, and connections are always great. You never know when you're going to need somebody's expertise, and the more connections you have, I think just it just helps everybody.
100%. I have met, I'm a fan of both. I've participated in both group and one-on-one, and I see the value in both. So I offer both and allow people the opportunity to choose. And I try to do a hybrid because the number one priority for me is safety.
Mhm.
So if somebody, unfortunately, there is a lot of harm that has been done in the coaching and healing community. So if somebody's like super, like I cannot fathom being on a call with, 5 or 6 other people. I just can, I'm not there yet. I will absolutely, honor them and meet them where they are. That is another one of just like my principles of people I'm not here to push or drag anyone along the continuum because when they're truly ready to do it, they'll actually be able to hold it. I don't want them to like perform for me and say like I'm doing all this work because Taylor said so. Like I want them to do it for them and for their future, generations and whatever they're going to go on and create after the fact. So it really is about what feels most safe for people.
So, what kind of modalities do you lean into when
I
it
right
comes down
now
to
am
it?
trained in breath work, Reiki, theta healing. I also study astrology and human design, so
Mhm.
I'm usually not usually. I am very intentional about when, even with events and when I'm starting cohorts and things like that, like I'm already looking ahead energetically to see what is happening. If I know people's astrology and at least their big three, I know how to communicate with them a little bit better. That might actually be a little bit easier for them to digest and process and take because I know that if your moon is in Cancer, and like right now the moon is in Cancer as we're recording today, you might be a little more emotional today, and that's okay. So I'm not going to, I can at least know that and support you with that because that might not be something that you're aware of. But the breath work and theta healing and Reiki are the main modalities that I use.
And they're very powerful modalities. I've I've come to appreciate the moon lately a lot more than I ever
Hmm.
have. I've been working on manifesting in my own life. I've I joined this experiment, and I really actually am using it as an experiment. Um, and it's been going very well, I have to say. Um, but I'm using the new moons to
Yep.
set the intention, and purposefully going through the the things that I feel are important in terms of manifesting the things that you want to appear. So I appreciate how different cycles in the moon and different placements of the moon in the sky can affect us in interesting ways.
And the
So
key
tell,
there too is like even digging into the fact of like where is that new and or full moon in your specific chart.
Mhm.
So not just, we have the Virgo full moon coming up in a couple days, and I'm a Virgo sun, but I also would take the time to look into like, okay, what does this mean for me so that I know more consciously what am I focusing on releasing and what do I want to call in to that space of that I'm opening up. So
Mm.
Yeah, that is exactly one of the things. I have a friend that's a moonologer. I am not a moonologer, but it's a whole different aspect that it threw me off because I've been studying astrology, and she's like only talking about the moon, and I'm like, wait a second, okay, this makes sense. So, finding what works for you and finding what feels good.
Hmm. And when you know what your moon is, it's like we all know what our sun signs are, but very few people really understand what their moon sign. I'm an Aquarian moon sign. Um, so it it really helps you figure out where the balance is in your own life also.
Hmm.
And
And
as you
that's
said,
hilarious because I'm an Aquarius rising.
so we're in sync there.
Hmm.
So I know that you have a Facebook group. So you want to tell us about that a little bit, and then let's talk about the master classes that you do. You,
Sure. Yeah, the so the Facebook community is called Elevate Your Essence. I literally put community in there because everybody has Facebook groups, and I was very hesitant to even have it, but it is, I call it tiny but mighty. It's very engaged. I People are forging relationships, and that is what I wanted, was to bring people together that are in, different places in their lives and their journeys, to have a safe space to ask questions. I've been doing a live series with different members of my group that do other modalities that I don't do, just so that if people are curious, and when you're up at 2 o'clock in the morning on a full moon and you don't quite know why, and you're kind of poking around, like, here's some free, videos that you can watch from real people that really care. That the last two that I did with both of the ladies were hypnotherapists, and that is not something that I know anything about personally, nor am I trained in it. So it was really cool for me as a learning experience, but also for people in the group, because these are resources that are going to continue to live on. So I try to keep that group very, I want to say very safe. Safety is, again, just the utmost. I want people to feel safe and honored and respected in whatever they're experiencing, and know that they can come there, ask a question, or get support in whatever way feels good for them. And some people might just want to come vent, and that doesn't happen too often, but you can put up how you're feeling or what you're going through, and just say, like, I just needed to put this out here. I am not actually looking for any feedback. Like, that's okay too. So it's a come as you are, and just get to grow and meet other people in different areas of their journey.
that's awesome. I love that. So I know that you do master classes. What are those around?
The first one that I did, which is still available, it'll probably always be, that one was on, I called it Healing Straight Up No Chaser, because that is how I used to drink. So I kind of chronicled how nonlinear the healing journey can be. And I, of course, am still on my own. But that was the main topic for that one. The workshop that I'm doing, coming up next, is on confronting your lineage and owning your shift. So I think every time I see a need and I see where things are going, and as I continue to do my own work and peel back these layers,
Mhm.
something new comes up for me that, all ultimately feeds back into my program and the work that I'm doing. But with this more direct language, I'll say, but with this more, direct language, very clear, like, we're going deep in this one. So I know it might not be for everybody, but for the people that it is for, I think it'll definitely be super powerful, and they'll have a journal to work along with during, and of course after, and access to the replay. So I'm super excited to offer that.
That sounds pretty amazing. You had a line on your website that it really hit me. I embraced sobriety about 6 months ago now, but you 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 said something to the effect of watching television, asleep, and having a drink.
Hmm.
And I actually can relate to that because that's what I used to do. You're
Yeah, I
awake,
am.
but you're asleep. You're just like, it was the time that I just wanted to be by myself.
Yeah, I'm at this point. I will be coming up on almost 2 years of sobriety, and it has utterly changed my life.
Mhm.
In the best ways. But yeah, I relate to that. I was kind of painting the picture of you work all day, take care of the kids, the partner, the you take care of everything, and it's like all you want to do is not think. It's like, give me a glass
Mhm.
of wine, let me put on Netflix, something absolute like I'm tired of thinking. Like I
Yep.
didn't even know decision fatigue was a thing. I don't want to think about what's for dinner when I get home. Like I don't even care. So being in that place and existing there, and I did it, for years, for very like successfully, which is even more terrifying. Of like I didn't even realize how disconnected from myself I was because of how well I performed and showed up and did the things. There was never any reason for anyone. I wouldn't allow anyone to think that something was off.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's definitely a big part of the journey and making that choice to say like I actually don't this can't be a part of my story anymore.
And yet, I don't know about you, but I didn't find it that hard to just make other choices. And once had the tools to do the inner work that you have to do in order to set the boundaries that you need to set in your life so that you're not feeling like that at the end of the day and you're not trying to make all the decisions for all the people, which is ultimately what leads to decision fatigue. But
Hmm.
was it difficult for you to embrace sobriety and
Yeah, yeah. I didn't want it. I didn't want to. I didn't think I needed to. But I went to treatment. I work a 12-step program, so
Mhm.
I am very active in the sobriety community, and the desire to drink was relieved pretty early in my journey, and I know that that's different for everyone.
Mhm.
I'm grateful for me that it's just not a thought. I can sit and attend, like, of course my everything looks different now, but I can be around it and I'm not like repulsed. But it's not even a choice for me anymore. It's not an option. Like it became not fun. It wasn't even providing the relief that it once used to provide, and that like, oh, this is relaxing. Like it wasn't fun anymore. It wasn't relaxing anymore. So I'm really, really grateful for, all of the support that I've had to be able to not let that write the ending of my story, and to be able to, get the support I needed to make different choices and really, I hate to say that like start over, but part of it is, starting over. There's definitely some death and rebirth that happens when you choose to just not engage in any mind altering substances and say like, I'm actually going to do this life thing like sober, which is also terrifying, but so worth it.
I don't I don't know. Have you discovered that in doing not using the mind altering substances, but you can actually alter your mind
Mhm.
without them? And that high is so much better because
And safer.
and safer. Exactly.
Breath work is a perfect example of
Yeah.
that. Of I Now that I don't consume, and I had never even tried breath work before, like almost 2 years ago. I Yeah, the release of, DMT when you are breathing in that pattern and that euphoric feeling. It's nothing I had ever experienced with alcohol. So and same thing with Reiki. Pretty much every modality I have personally experienced and now also provide, like these feelings and sensations that I'm just like, what is that? And it's super scary for me because the Virgo wants to know all the things and have all the control. And now I just have an openness and a willingness and a surrender because it's like I have, nothing to lose and everything to gain from the potential that this experience could bring me into another layer that again I've buried or disconnected from for so long that of course listening to my intuition again feels weird and not normal because I didn't for so long. So now I'm like, how do I do that? So it's definitely a lot of, learning and some things learning for the first time, at least in this lifetime, of how to be and exist and do. But it's definitely been, I wouldn't change it, that's for sure.
Yeah, I feel the same way. It's just been such an amazing adventure. It's like, why would you want to do that when you could have this? So, how do people get in touch with you if they want to work with you, join your community and
So I'm everywhere. I do spend most of my time on Facebook, but I am also on Instagram. So I'm on Facebook as myself, Taylor A. Caruthers, and my Facebook group, which is Elevate Your Essence Community. I try to make it super easy. So there's a quick little link in my bio to click to join. I am picky, so I want everybody in there, but you have to answer the questions. You do not have to give me your email address, but I at least need you to acknowledge that you're going to help create a safe space. But yeah, the group is growing and yeah, booking a call. I offer, can't speak. I offer a 30-minute enlightenment call that is complimentary and we can dive in and my goal with those calls is to provide value, and then if the person wants to speak further about any of the services that I do, I'm always open to have that conversation. And the breathwork, theta healing, and Reiki, I always need to like specify people can get those services with me and not have to be in the coaching container. So if that is something where people are just, like baby stepping their way in, there's zero judgment. If you just want to book breath work for now. Like I honor that. I respect that. Again, people are where they are. So those are offered a la carte as well.
that's awesome. And it's really a great place for people to really just get their feet wet a little bit. So some of these modalities are pretty new and people don't generally just in the wider population know how powerful just knowing how to breathe. We take that so for granted, but there are
Hmm.
ways that you can breathe that will do different things for your body. They'll get different energies going. And
100%.
it's I totally recommend that if Taylor's willing to hook you up, that you should definitely take advantage of at least one exercise with her.
Yeah, I always tell people at least one, but like, because obviously you have to just try it. But when you're shopping around, and I say shopping because that's what it ends up being, but when you're looking around for like what can I take away and like what can actually be something that I want to do for the rest of my life. And like I meditate regularly and all the other things that I do, but I tell people to give it 3 tries because I know for me, breath work very different every single time. And I breathe regularly. Every single experience is different. So giving yourself 2 to 3 times to just see like, is this, am I willing to keep going? Because that's a question you have to ask yourself. So I try to say it, like, of course, all 3 times don't need to be with me, and every facilitator is different. But really important to give yourself that grace and patience to figure out what does actually work for you, because something will.
Yeah. And like once I learned how to box breathe, I never had trouble falling asleep again. Who knew it could be something so simple?
Something so simple and unmedicated. Like I don't take
Yeah.
I don't take sleep medications anymore. And I used to even take like melatonin, which you can just buy on Amazon. I don't take anything for sleep anymore and the quality of my sleep. And then again, of course I'm a nurse, so I'm not like bashing pharmaceuticals. That's a whole other conversation. But um yeah, like if I don't need to take anything and I still feel great. Um I use box breathing too. So I totally get that.
It's like I'm well past menopause, and I was not sleeping. I would wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and lay there until 5 or 6, when I would finally just give up and get up. But now I go to sleep at 10 o'clock and I sleep until 6. I don't wake up.
Beautiful.
Kind of life changing. Thank
Heck
you
yeah.
so much for joining me, Taylor. What's the one thing that you hope the audience takes away from our conversation? What do you want to leave them with?
I leave people with do it anyway. If you're scared and it feels uncomfortable or uneasy, go for it and believe in yourself.
Yeah, we'll leave it with that. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the You World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.